After 12 years apart, Millionaire discovers his taxi driver is his hidden college sweetheart. Jake Thompson stared out the window of his high-rise condo, the glowing skyline of Chicago reflecting the life he had built, a life filled with wealth, status, and million-dollar meetings. Yet, beneath his tailored suits and designer watches, there lay a hollow ache that echoed in the silence of his empty rooms. 12 years had passed since he walked away from Sara, his college sweetheart. That parting, driven by societal pressures and class divisions, felt like a ghost haunting his every success. Little did he know, fate had a way of rewinding time. It was a typical busy afternoon when he stepped into the yellow taxi. The scent of old leather and the hum of the city filled the car, familiar, yet strangely disarming. He expected the usual small talk, but as he turned to see the driver, his heart jumped. Sara. Her eyes sparkled with the same warmth he remembered, yet her face bore the marks of resilience, shaped by years of tough choices. He hadn't expected her to be here, driving a taxi, her life a stark contrast to his own. "Jake?" she asked hesitantly, the recognition coloring her voice with a mix of surprise and something deeper. The connection ignited instantly. Memories collided, swirling around them like the wind whipping through the streets. They talked as if no time had passed, laughter mixed with the bittersweet weight of regret. As the taxi wove through the crowded streets, he'd listened to Sara recount stories of her life, a single mother juggling part-time jobs, a son dreaming of a better life. Each story pulled at his heart, and the glimmer of his success felt awkward against her struggles. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Every time their paths crossed, each ride, each shared laugh, Jake felt the weight of his choices pressing like lead over his heart. Here was the woman he loved fiercely, now wrapped in a life that spoke of sacrifice and strength, a life he had run away from. How could he explain the gilded cage he'd built for himself? Sara's laughter, punctuated by the sound of the city's chaos, reminded him of the joy he'd pushed aside in pursuit of success. Yet, dread loomed as he sensed the walls between them rising. When Sara found out the truth of his life, his wealth, his status with the connection they'd rebuilt survive. As their interactions deepened, Jake couldn't help but wish to protect her, but the stakes were high. When a crisis struck in Sara's life, threatening both her future and her son's safety, he was left grappling with the realization that he might have created a deeper wound with his success than he ever intended. How could he help her without suffocating her spirit? In that swirling uncertainty lay a profound question. Could he shed the weight of his choices and truly love her again? Or would the scars of their past keep them from what could be? With every ride, they were on the brink of discovery, a chance for redemption and perhaps rekindled love. But the path ahead was fraught with the unexpected. In a world caught between privilege and perseverance, the answers whispered through the bustling streets, leaving both Jake and Sara entwined in a story of longing and hope, yearning for a resolution that hung just out of reach. The next few days flew by in a blur. Jake found himself staying late at work, but not for meetings or deals. Instead, he was scrolling through old college photos, memories of laughter, late-night study sessions, and youthful dreams. Each image sparked a flame of nostalgia, a sweet ache in his chest. He could picture Sara's smile, the way her eyes lit up when she was excited, how she would tug at him playfully during their endless talks under the stars. The laughter they once shared echoed in his mind. But reality was different now. He was a millionaire, the CEO of a thriving company, while Sara was a hard-working mother trying to make ends meet. The financial gap felt like an insurmountable wall. It left him questioning if they could ever bridge their worlds, or if he would only bring her more hardship. Days turned into weeks, and every ride in Sara's taxi felt like a lifeline. Those stolen moments rushed in as the city flew by, the lights brightening their surroundings but casting shadows on unspoken fears. Each conversation ignited something within Jake that he hadn't felt in years. It was a joy mixed with a pressing urgency to help her, to be there for her, to protect her from the growing storm that threatened her once vibrant spirit. Sara's stories became both a balm and a blade. While he learned about her struggles with child care, bills, and late-night shifts, he also tasted the bitterness of his own guilt. He longed to make her life easier, but he knew that throwing money at her problems wouldn't solve them. He needed a connection and understanding that went beyond financial aid. One evening, as they sat parked in front of her apartment, the air thick with hesitation, Jake broke the silence. "Sara." Her gaze flicked to him, her expression a mix of hope and fear. "What is it, Jake?" His heart raced. "I want to help you. I want to do something that actually counts." A tremor of disbelief crossed her face. "You think money is the solution?" "Jake, you don't understand." "No, listen," he interrupted, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't just want to throw money at you. I want to be part of your life again. I want to share in the struggle, in the victories, no matter how small." Sara shifted uncomfortably, her silhouette framed by the warm glow of a nearby street lamp. "I built my life, Jake. I'm not sure I can let someone in that could hurt me again." He felt the weight of her fear. "You won't be hurt. I promise. I want to prove to you that I can be different. That I am different." There was a moment of silence, the kind that stretched out uncomfortably yet carried the power of unasked questions. Sara searched his eyes, and he caught a glimpse of the flicker of hope fighting against years of heartache. Would she trust him again? Just then, her phone buzzed insistently on the dashboard, breaking the heavy air between them. Jake saw her resolve shift. What if she began hesitatingly? "What if I let you help me get through this on my terms?" "But Jake, you have to promise that you won't try to change me or make decisions for me." A wave of relief crashed over him. "Absolutely. That's all I ask." As their eyes locked, it felt as if they were reaching across the chasm that had split them apart for 12 long years. The shadows of their past loomed, but a new light flickered in the distance. Could they find their way, not despite their differences, but because of them? But just as hope began to rise, Sara's phone buzzed again, this time with an emergency message. The urgency in her eyes told Jake this was not just another routine issue. It was serious. "What's wrong?" he asked quickly. Her hands trembled as she read the message, the color draining from her face. "It's about my son." Jake's heart sank. Was this the beginning of another chapter filled with struggle? They had just found a spark of hope, and now it was time for a real test that neither of them were ready for. And on that note, the air thickened with uncertainty, leaving Jake with one burning question. Would they make it through this together, or would the ghosts of their past tear them apart once more? The color drained from Sara's face as she read the message, her hands shaking slightly. Jake felt a knot forming in his stomach, the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. "What does it say?" he pressed, his voice low and steady, trying to mask his own anxiety. "It's about Daniel. He's in trouble at school," she murmured, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "The principal says he's been acting out, getting into fights. They want me to come in immediately." Jake's heart pounded louder in his chest. He remembered the stories Sara had shared about her son, how much he meant to her, how fiercely she fought to provide for him. "Sara, I can drive you. We can figure this out together," he offered, a desperate hope flickering in his chest. She shook her head, her expression torn. "I can't drag you into this, Jake. It's my responsibility." The fight in her voice was firm, but there was a vulnerability that cut through. "Sara," he said softly, "I am here. You don't have to do this alone." The curls of her hair glowed golden in the light, framing her worried face. Jake could see the battle within her, the mother trying to be strong while wrestling with deep fears of failure. With a deep breath, she nodded, the tension in her shoulders easing just a bit. Okay. But I can't promise I won't fall apart." "Then we'll fall apart together if we have to," Jake replied. He turned the ignition, and the engine roared to life, mirroring the urgency in each of their hearts as they drove through the bustling city streets. Gaps in traffic only deepened the silence between them. Sara stared out the window, her thoughts racing, while Jake stole glances at her, feeling helpless and terrified for her. He wished he could take the weight from her, wrap her in a protective shield against the storm of life that had buffeted her for years. Finally, she broke the silence. "I used to dream he'd have a different life," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "One filled with opportunities, not struggling the way I do. Just because things are hard right now doesn't mean they have to stay that way," Jake replied gently, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. "You're an incredible mother, Sara. Daniel may be acting out, but that doesn't define him or you." Her eyes flickered to him, searching for comfort, a hint of warmth that began to thaw the icy breath of doubt. Just then, her phone buzzed again, making her jump. It was another message from the school, deepening her frown. "What's it say?" Jake asked, trying to peer at the screen. "It's the principal asking for a meeting before I can see Daniel. They think he might need counseling." She let out a shaky breath, her fingers curling against the phone. "What if they think I'm a bad mom?" Jake felt his heart break for her in that moment. "No one thinks that. They just want to help," he urged. "And you're not alone in this. I'm right here with you." A moment of understanding passed between them, deep and full, two souls reaching out amidst a life filled with chaotic noise. When they arrived at the school, the looming brick building felt like a fortress that guarded many secrets, both painful and hopeful. They walked side by side toward the entrance, their movements synchronized as if they'd trained for this moment. As they stepped through the doors, Jake squeezed her hand gently. He never intended to be a savior, but he wanted to be a constant, someone she could lean on when she felt overwhelmed. Inside, the principal's office felt cold and uninviting, and the tension in the air was palpable. Jake noticed the way Sara clenched her jaw, her body rigid with apprehension. But he knew in his heart that the outcome of this meeting would be just one more step on their unfolding road together. And as they took their seats, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was a pivotal moment for both of them. They were standing at the precipice of change. Would this meeting lead them closer together, or would it shatter the fragile bond they were trying to rebuild? The air buzzed with uncertainty, and one thought loomed, larger than others. What would they discover about themselves and each other when all was said and done? In the sterile office, the walls seemed to close in around them as Sara glanced at the principal, a middle-aged man with kind eyes but stern posture. He gestured for them to sit, his gaze shifting between Sara and Jake, attempting to read the unspoken tension in the room. Sara's heart raced as she settled into the chair, her fingers nervously fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. "Thank you for coming on short notice," the principal began, his voice steady but gentle. "We're really concerned about Daniel's behavior lately. It's unusual for him, and we believe he's going through something that he's not ready to express." Sara swallowed hard. "I just don't understand. He's always been so happy, you know?" Jake leaned forward, offering his quiet support. "Kids go through phases. Sometimes they struggle and don't know how to talk about it," he said, trying to inject reassurance into the heavy air. As the principal continued, detailing the incidents, Sara's face paled further with each word. "He has been getting into fights, rebellious behavior, talking back. We think he may be acting out because of stress, but stress from what?" Sara interjected, her voice rising slightly. "I work hard to give him everything I can. I try to be there for him." Her frustration bubbled up, the fear of being judged washing over her like a wave. The principal nodded understandingly. "I know you do, but sometimes children carry burdens we aren't aware of. That's why we recommend counseling. It's a safe space for him to share what he feels." Counseling. The word echoed in Sara's mind like a drumbeat of her worst fears. Would Daniel think they were broken? Would he resent her for it? Jake placed a hand on Sara's back, a simple gesture meant to ground her amidst the storm of worries. She glanced at him, searching for strength in his warm, steady presence. "I just want him to feel safe," she whispered, tears threatening to spill. The principal's eyes softened. "That's the main goal of counseling, a confidential and supportive environment." "Will it help?" Sara asked, her voice trembling. "Can give him tools to express himself, to cope with what's troubling him." Sara nodded slowly, her heart heavy. She wanted to believe it would work, to trust that this chaos could find some resolution, but doubt clung to her like a fog. Once the meeting concluded, Sara stepped outside first, taking a breath of fresh air that felt both liberating and suffocating. Jake followed closely behind, sensing her turmoil. "I know it feels overwhelming," Jake began, "but this could be an opportunity for him. You're already showing him that you care." She turned to him, his words like a lifeline thrown in a turbulent sea. "Do you really think I'm doing enough?" Her eyes searched his, desperate for validation. "Yes, you're doing more than enough. He needs your support, and he needs you to let him know it's okay to be vulnerable. It's a tough world out there, none of us have it all figured out," he replied gently as they walked toward the car. An uneasy silence settled between them. With each step, the implications of the meeting sank deeper into Sara's mind. What if they couldn't turn things around? What if Daniel fell further and further away? Jake opened the car door for Sara, steadying her with his gaze. "Let us take this one step at a time," he said quietly. She nodded, grateful for his presence, but uncertainty still loomed ahead. Would Daniel accept help? How would this change him? How would it change them as a family? They drove in silence, the weight of the day settling heavy on their shoulders. But as they moved down the road, Sara's eyes were drawn to the world outside, a whirlwind of life and stories unfolding all around them. Jake pulled onto their street, and an unexpected sense of resolve washed over Sara. "Maybe this isn't just about Daniel," she whispered, thinking aloud. "What do you mean?" Jake looked at her, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the setting sun. "If we're gonna help him, then maybe we have to be brave, too. I can't let fear control my life or Daniel's anymore." Jake's smile was warm, the kind that said he understood her struggle. "And I'll be right there with you." As the sun dipped below the horizon, a new chapter beckoned. Both hopeful and terrified, Sara felt an ember of determination igniting within. But as they entered the house, a sudden commotion erupted from Daniel's room, filled with raised voices. It sent a jolt of panic through her. What was happening now? Sara's heart raced again, the uncertainty returning with a vengeance. She opened the door to see what chaos awaited, and in that moment, she knew they were on the brink of something far more complicated than she ever anticipated. Would they be prepared for the storm to come? As the door swung open, Sara braced herself for a scene that could range anywhere from harmless to disastrous. The sight that greeted her, however, ignited an entirely different kind of tension. Daniel was in his room, surrounded by two boys from school: Ryan, a classmate with a reputation for mischief, and Tyler, the ringleader known for causing trouble. They were hovering over a pile of what looked like sharp rocks, each boy holding one as they argued heatedly. "What are you guys doing?" Sara's voice cracked slightly, the concern spilling out before she could rein it in. "Nothing, Mom. Just throwing rocks," Daniel shouted back, but his tone lacked the usual playfulness. There was a defiance in his gaze that sent more alarm bells ringing in Sara's mind. Throwing rocks? In a room? She crossed her arms, unwilling to let the absurdity slide. "Doesn't he sound like nothing to me? We were just trying to see who could throw the furthest." Ryan piped up, glancing at Daniel for support, but instead found the boyish eyes narrowing dangerously. "If you're gonna try something stupid, count me out," Daniel snapped, his defiance beginning to morph into anger. "Hey, watch your mouth." Sara stepped closer, her instincts kicking into overdrive. "This is not how we handle things in this house." Daniel's face darkened, an emotional undercurrent swirling behind his tight-lipped expression. "You're not the boss of me, Mom." He tossed the rock he'd been holding onto his bed, as if to dismiss any thoughts of listening. Sara felt her insides twist, heart racing at the pushback. "I'm not trying to be the boss. I just want to. It's just a game," Tyler interrupted, eager to diffuse the growing tension. But Sara wasn't having it. "Get out. Both of you," she ordered, her voice firmer than it felt. "I need to talk to Daniel alone." Ryan and Tyler exchanged glances, confusion and frustration painted on their faces before they slowly shuffled out, leaving a hollow silence behind. "What is going on with you?" Sara turned to Daniel, who stormed across the room, tension radiating from him. You're acting like someone I don't even recognize. Daniel dropped down onto his bed, head bowed. I can't talk. Just leave me alone. Okay, let us take a breath, all right? Sara moved to sit beside him, hoping her proximity would soften the walls he was building. I'm not here to judge, but something is clearly troubling you. Daniel didn't look up, his stance rigid and unyielding. You wouldn't understand. You never do. Try me, she urged gently, her heart aching at his rejection. Whatever it is, I promise I'm here to help you through it. I don't want help. I'm fine. The explosion of emotion from her son was unexpected, washing over Sara like a wave. She knew that anger often masked a deeper pain. No, you're not. And I'm not buying it, she replied softly but firmly. You're scaring me, Daniel. This isn't how you deal with problems. He finally looked at her, resentment and hurt swirling in his eyes. It's not your life, Mom. You don't know what it's like at school, or how everyone sees me. Counselors? Therapists? It's pathetic. Sara felt a sharp sting at the word pathetic. Daniel, it's brave to ask for help, that's strength. He threw his hands up in frustration. I don't need your help or your stupid ideas. Maybe I just need a minute to breathe, then let us breathe together, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper, hopeful that he would let her in at least a little. They sat in silence, a beat of uncertainty hanging heavily between them. Sara could feel the battle raging inside him. She had an inkling that this moment, this dialogue of emotions, was the beginning of something crucial. But would it be enough to save her son from what was consuming him? Just then, the shrill ring of her phone broke the tension. It was a text from Jake. Everything okay? She hesitated, then hit reply. Not sure yet, but I'm trying. As she looked back at Daniel, something shifted in his posture. For a brief second, there was vulnerability, a flicker of the boy who had once drawn pictures of superheroes and dreamed big. But would he let her pull him back into the light? Because in the depths of that silence, the truth lingered. If they didn't navigate this together, the storm brewing inside him would only grow fiercer. Would it be stronger than the bond they tried to forge? Would he still believe in his own strength by the end of it all? The questions hung in the air, heavy and uncomfortable, marking the real beginning of a fight neither of them felt fully ready for. The softness of the moment was shattered by Daniel's sharp intake of breath. He shifted slightly, hands clenching into fists on his knees. You don't get it, Mom. You think talking makes it better, but it doesn't. It just makes it worse. What could possibly be worse than this? Sara's heart sank with the weight of his words. You're angry and confused. That's okay. But shutting me out won't help. Daniel's eyes flashed, filled with pain masked by fury. You don't even know what I'm going through. It's like I'm invisible at school. Everyone thinks they know me, but they don't. It's suffocating. He stood up abruptly, pacing the room, hands running through his hair. The frustration was palpable. I just want to be seen, he finally shouted, the raw honesty hanging in the air. For the first time, Sara felt a spark of connection amidst the chaos. I see you, she said softly, her voice trembling. I see my son, the one who used to show me his drawings, who loved playing basketball in the driveway. You're still that same boy, even if it feels like you don't fit in right now. Daniel paused, the ferocity in his demeanor wavering. That was years ago. I'm not a kid anymore. No, you're not. You're growing up and it's terrifying. But you don't have to face it alone. I wish I could know what you're going through. I want to understand. Her words hung in the air, vulnerable yet persistent. The crack in Daniel's wall seemed to widen, just a little. You really want to know? His voice was quieter now, almost hesitant. More than anything, Sara replied, a gentle urgency weaving through her words. With a deep breath, Daniel turned away, facing the wall. It's hard. Everyone expects all these things from me: grades, sports, friends. I don't even know who I am supposed to be anymore. A flood of emotions washed over Sara. Fear, worry, and the aching desire to protect him. It's okay to not have all the answers right away. Let us figure it out together. You don't have to live up to anyone else's expectations but your own. Silence enveloped them again, but it felt different this time. The air buzzed with possibilities, with hope mingling with uncertainty. Just as she thought he might break, Daniel turned around, a single tear escaping down his cheek. What if I can't be the person everyone wants me to be? What if I fail? Sara felt her own heart crack open a little wider at the sight of his vulnerability. Then we'll redefine what success looks like. It's not about perfection, Daniel. It's about being true to yourself. His shoulders slumped, the tension starting to ease. But what if I don't even know who that is? That lingering question made Sara's chest tighten. Finding that out is the journey. You have time, let us take it step by step. You're not alone in this, remember? Before he could reply, Daniel's phone buzzed ferociously on the bed, cutting through the moment. He glanced at it, a notification from a group chat buzzing with excitement, pictures of a party that night. Seems like Ryan and Tyler are inviting you to something, Sara said, trying to gauge his reaction. Are you planning to go? He hesitated, glancing between her and the phone. I don't know. Maybe. Sara seized her chance. Why not talk to them? Maybe share how you're feeling. It could help. A look of disgust flickered on his face as he considered it. They wouldn't get it. Maybe not at first, but taking a step could change everything, she encouraged. Daniel rolled his eyes but sat back down on the bed. What if I mess it up? Then you regroup. Adjust. I'm here for you no matter what. He looked at her, uncertainty still swimming in his eyes but with a hint of something else, a glimmer of hope. As they sat in that room, the weight of the conversation still looming, Sara wondered if this fragile moment marked a new beginning. Could Daniel begin to reshape his view on himself, the world around him? And as the tension shifted between them, she couldn't shake the feeling of something just waiting to unfold. Would Daniel dare step into the unknown, or would he retreat once more? That uncertainty loomed, casting a shadow over what lay ahead. It was a fragile balance between fear and hope, one that could tip either way with just a single choice. Daniel stared at his phone, the screen lighting up with a flurry of messages. His friends were buzzing about the party, teasing each other about who might be there. But all he could think about was the conversation with his mom. A million mixed feelings tangled up inside him. What if I don't even fit in? He whispered more to himself than her. Sara shifted closer, sensing his turmoil. You know what? This isn't about fitting in. It's about showing up as who you really are, even if that feels awkward. You're not alone. I want to be here for you. He could feel her compassion in the air, wrapping around him like a warm blanket. He wanted to resist, to fold back into the familiar comfort of isolation, but her words flickered faintly like a candle in the dark. Taking a deep breath, Daniel felt a surge of frustration. But what if I don't even know who that is? What if I go and it just backfires? Sara leaned in, her eyes meeting his. What's the worst that could happen? You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just be yourself. You can try, and if it doesn't feel right, you just leave. Daniel scratched his head, glancing back at the screen. His heart raced at the thought of being in a room full of people who might see through him, see how lost he felt. Eventually, he sighed, his fingers hovering over the phone. What if they laugh? What if they don't understand? They might surprise you, she said, a gentle nudge in her tone. You'll never know unless you try. Everyone's got their own struggles. You're not alone, Daniel. You may even find someone who understands more than you think. He nodded slowly, still afraid but sensing a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. Maybe his mom was right. Maybe it was time to venture beyond the safe walls he built. After a moment, he responded to the group chat, I might check it out. Just to see. Sara's smile was immediate and bright. That's the spirit. See where it leads you. Feeling a rush of unfamiliar excitement mixed with dread, Daniel stood up. I guess I should shower and change. Huh? Good idea, Sara encouraged, her enthusiasm palpable. You'll feel better afterward, trust me. As he moved toward the bathroom, the air felt lighter, but the reverberation of self-doubt still lingered. Would he really go? Would he show the parts of himself he'd hidden for so long? His reflection in the mirror was a mix of boy and man, a kaleidoscope of insecurities and strength he didn't yet understand. With a faint smile, he imagined walking into that party and letting his guard down for a change. Moments later, after a shower and dressing in a favorite shirt, he felt somewhat more confident. Sara lingered in the hallway, an encouraging figure. As he stepped toward the door, his heart thumped loudly. "Are you sure this is a good idea? Only you can decide that," she replied with a soft smile. "But remember, I love you no matter what." With a deep breath and a promise to himself to just be present, Daniel opened the door and stepped outside. The cool evening air greeted him like an old friend, and he began to walk. The car was just a few steps away, but that felt like a leap into the unknown. When he got into the back seat, the small space felt oddly comforting, like a bubble before diving into the deep end. "Just take it one moment at a time," he murmured to himself. As the driver pulled away from the curb, he realized his heart was hammering. Was it from anxiety or the thrill of possibility? Moments passed, and he found himself leaning against the seat, thinking about how this could change everything. But just as they made a turn, a siren blared nearby, causing the driver to jerk the wheel. Daniel gasped, instinctively reaching for the door, his mind racing. What would he do if panic set in? Would this night bring clarity, or was it just an outrageous leap? The uncertainty weighed heavily, swirling his thoughts as they drove deeper into the unknown. The car swerved slightly again, and Daniel's breath caught in his throat. Panic had a way of creeping in silently, like shadows in the corners of his mind. He squeezed his eyes shut for a moment. Just breathe, he reminded himself. Keep it together. With each block they passed, the reality of going to that party became more daunting. The familiar streets began to blur into an unfamiliar landscape, causing his heart to race faster with every thought. What if everyone there was better than him? What if he couldn't connect with anyone? Would they all see the parts he kept hidden? As they drove, the city lights flickered through the tinted windows like stars falling into the ocean. A feeling of nostalgia washed over him. This city, bustling with freedom and hope, was where he had spent countless nights dreaming of bigger things. Yet it was just as easy to feel lost within it all. His phone buzzed again, another message from the group chat. "Looking forward to seeing you, Dan." He smiled faintly, but his anxiety bubbled just beneath the surface. Would they even recognize the real him? What if they remembered the scared boy he used to be, the one who didn't quite fit in, the one who always felt on the outside looking in? He fiddled with the hem of his shirt, a nervous habit he thought he had grown out of. Sara's words echoing in his mind felt reassuring, but the fear simmered stronger. The driver took a sharp turn, and the car came to a halt. He peered through the windshield, spotting the party house glowing like a beacon against the night sky. It was alive with music and laughter, the energy spilling onto the street. Daniel's stomach twisted. It felt like standing on the edge of a diving board, looking down at the water far below. He could jump if only he had the courage. "Here you go," the driver said, breaking him from his thoughts. "Good luck, kiddo." "Thanks," Daniel muttered, heart racing. He opened the door, the sounds from the party washing over him like waves. The bass from the music pulsed through the air, wrapping around him, both welcoming and intimidating. As he stepped out, the cold air hit him, sharpening his senses. It smelled like grass and smoke, with hints of pizza and something sweet. He paused for a moment, fighting the urge to retreat back into the car. His legs felt anchored to the ground, caught in a battle between fight or flight. "What if I can't do this?" he murmured under his breath, noticing how the laughter bubbled out from the gathering just a few steps away. "Remember, you don't have to be perfect," he whispered, taking a deep breath like a mantra. This was about showing up, like Sara said. No pressure. Just be him. With every ounce of bravery he could muster, he stepped closer to the door, ready to embrace the moment. But just before he entered, his phone buzzed again. This time it was a video call from Sara. With a quick glance at his watch, he thought, "What the heck?" and tapped the screen. It connected instantly, and her smiling face appeared, radiating warmth. "Hey, you made it," she said, her excitement brimming from the screen. Sort of, he replied, a nervous smile creeping onto his face. I'm outside. Go. You're not going to regret this, she encouraged, her spark igniting for him. Daniel inhaled deeply, feeling the strength of her words mixing with his own. He was tired of standing on the sidelines. With one last reassured nod from Sara, he ended the call. Time to dive in. He grasped the handle and pushed through the door, stepping into the unknown with a heart full of hope. But as he crossed the threshold, the scene shifted. A figure rushed past him, someone familiar, someone he never expected to see. His breath caught. Could it really be? The past rarely leaves quietly, and tonight, it had its own plans. Feeling a mix of shock and disbelief, Daniel took another deep breath. What would happen next? Would old connections revive or finally lay to rest? The night had just begun, and everything was about to change. Daniel blinked, his heart racing as recognition flooded his senses. Standing there, weaving through a cluster of partygoers, was Mia, her familiar silhouette unmistakable. After all these years, the girl who had shared his laughter and dreams during college had reemerged like a ghost from the past. Only now she looked different, more confident, maybe. The glint in her eyes held stories he hadn't been part of. Is it really you? He asked, his voice just above a whisper, as if saying it too loudly would shatter the moment. Mia turned at the sound of his voice, a look of surprise crossing her features. Daniel? Oh my God! Her smile spread wider, lighting up her face, and for a fleeting moment, all the worry and anxiety melted away. They stood there, locked in each other's gaze, a snapshot of a moment long lost. The noise and chaos of the party faded into the background, leaving just the two of them suspended in time. Memories flashed before Daniel's eyes, inside jokes, late-night talks, and a bond they once shared that had seemingly vanished. Wow, I didn't expect to see you here, she finally said, breaking the spell and stepping closer. What are you up to these days? Her voice was warm, the familiarity drawing him out of his reserved shell. I just started a job, he mumbled, the weight of his insecurities creeping back in. It's nothing fancy, but I'm trying to make my way. Mia's eyes sparkled with genuine interest. That's great. Sometimes it's all about taking those small steps, right? I've been working at my dad's firm after graduation, making my way up too. Wow. Daniel felt admiration surge within him, interrupting the self-doubt gnawing at his mind. Here he was, talking to a woman who had achieved so much. He willed himself to relax, to talk just like they used to. I always knew you would do well. She chuckled softly, tilting her head. Well, I owe a bit of my success to you pushing me out of my comfort zone back then. Remember those late-night study sessions? Yeah, Daniel replied, warmth flooding through his chest. You were always the brains. I just tried to keep you entertained. They shared a laugh, but the comfort didn't last. The laughter faded, leaving behind an undercurrent of something unsaid, a tension that flickered in the air between them. Daniel's heart raced. Did she feel it too? Just as he opened his mouth to ask, another figure materialized beside Mia, her boyfriend, Daniel assumed. He was tall, with an easy smile and a confident air. The wind of the moment shifted as Mia turned to him. Hey babe, this is Daniel. We went to college together. Daniel managed to smile, despite a sudden rush of discomfort threatening to break the moment. Nice to meet you, the boyfriend said casually, but there was an edge in his tone, eyes narrowing ever so slightly. Daniel's heart sank, the familiar taste of rejection surfacing. He wanted to retreat, to find a corner where his insecurities could fester in peace. But no, not tonight. He had come here to emerge from his shell. Could he still connect with Mia, even with this new reality lurking in the shadows? But before he could collect his thoughts, Mia glanced back at him. Are you staying for a while? You should meet some people. It's crazy fun. Her words washed over him like a wave, stirring old feelings, old choices. He could feel the moment slipping through his fingers. A chance to rekindle a friendship, perhaps something deeper. Yeah, sure. I'd like that, he said, his voice steadier this time. Maybe one step into the crowd wouldn't erase the years, but it could lead to something new. But as they started to walk deeper into the throng of people, another thought gnawed at him. With tensions in the air, would he have the courage to embrace this moment? Around the corner, laughter erupted again, drawing them in. But what type of laughter awaited at the end? Would it be welcoming, or would old wounds be revealed, threatening to overshadow everything? Nothing was certain, and yet, against all odds, Daniel felt hope bubbling beneath the surface. The night was still young, and every step he took felt like a blossoming journey back into the light. What lay ahead remained unknown, but one thing was for sure: he wouldn't turn back now. The party unfolded like a vivid dream, colors swirling and laughter dancing in the air. Daniel's heart raced as he stepped deeper into the pulsating energy around him. The sound of music mixed with chatter created a beautiful chaos, pulling him in. Beside him, Mia offered her hand as if inviting him into a new world, a world where old anxieties had no place. As they waded through the crowd, Daniel felt a mixture of anxiety and exhilaration. Moments from their past flitted through his mind, memories of study sessions and shared secrets filling him with a warmth he had missed. He glanced at Mia. Her laughter rang bright and true, igniting something inside him that had felt buried. Could he really do this? Could he embrace the moment, let old fears dissipate in the light of rekindled camaraderie? Just as they approached a small gathering near the edge of the room, the party ambience shifted. Daniel spotted Ryan and Tyler laughing boisterously across the way. Their laughter felt like an echo of his own insecurities. He froze for a moment, the familiar tension creeping back in. What if they saw him here? What would they think of the new Daniel? Mia, noticing his hesitation, squeezed his hand gently. Hey, just be you. Don't worry about them. They're not what matters, right? Her smile was a lifeline, pulling him from the depths of his doubts. He nodded, the wave of reassurance washing over him with Mia by his side. He felt a surge of bravery. They mingled, conversations flowed, and Daniel found himself laughing again, truly laughing, feeling the weight of his worries lift just a bit. Whether he stumbled over his words or cracked a joke that fell flat, it didn't matter. Here, surrounded by so many people, he became aware that everyone had their struggles, their stories, their masks. Then, he caught sight of some familiar faces amidst the party, a reminder of who he used to be. But the fear didn't hold him captive this time. Instead, he approached with Mia confidently at his side. Hey guys, he called, his voice steady. Ryan turned, surprised at his presence. Daniel, you actually came? Yeah, well, thought I'd give it a shot, he said, forcing a smile and reminding himself of his mother's words. Just be yourself. Their conversation oddly flowed, at first laughs mixed with tales from their school days. Yet there it was. An undercurrent of doubt waded through like an unwelcome shadow. Daniel felt himself drifting back, almost wanting to share more of his struggles, of how he felt invisible at times, but the words stuck in his throat, tangled in the complicated relationship he had with his past. And Daniel's been busy trying to make his way in the world, right? Mia chimed in, giving him a nudge forward. Right? Just trying to keep up, that's all. He shrugged it off, but there was a flicker of vulnerability beneath the surface. What if sharing were the key to unlocking understanding? What if revealing the truth about how lost he sometimes felt could help him not feel alone? The night wore on, and as the party swelled, Daniel began to feel an unmistakable shift of self in the room. With laughter ringing around him, the vulnerability felt lighter, fleetingly brought to the surface but held with eager hands instead of trembling ones. Then, in a twist of fate, he spotted a boy, one who had always drifted at the edges of their school group. Daniel knew him, knew he too struggled with being seen. The boy stood alone, visibly uncomfortable. In that moment, Daniel's heart surged. Perhaps his journey could mean more than merely navigating his own struggles. Maybe it could be a bridge, a chance to connect with someone who shared the same fears. With Mia's encouraging smile still lingering in his thoughts, he walked over. Hey there, wanna hang out? Daniel extended his hand to the boy, offering not just companionship, but understanding. As their eyes locked, it was as if a quiet bond sparked between them. What's your name? Daniel asked, genuinely breaking the ice. Ben, the boy replied shyly, but his expression softened. Everyone keeps hanging out with their groups. It gets lonely. Tell me about it, Daniel said with a chuckle, relieved to find common ground. They quickly fell into a conversation, sharing stories that resonated with each other as hearts. It felt good, liberating even, to allow the walls he built around his soul to fall just that bit further. Mia watched from a distance, a smile dancing across her lips as she felt the transformation inside Daniel. Amidst the youthful laughter and exuberance surrounding them, she sensed the light growing in him, visible to everyone and no longer trapped in self-doubt. Eventually, Daniel found his way back to Mia, eyes alight with newfound confidence. "Thanks," he said, a genuine appreciation shining through. This night turned out to be different. Good different. She still held that glimmer of warmth. Exactly. He felt equal parts relief and joy. Really made me realize that it's okay to be seen. And maybe, just maybe, it feels good to let it happen. Feeling buoyed, Daniel looked around the room. There was something magical about being in the right company, something monumental about vulnerability. No longer shackled by fear, he spotted the people he used to shy away from, wanting to reach out to them, not just as the past version of himself but as someone evolving into who he wanted to be. The connection they had, the understanding that was slowly born in moments like these wrapped him in a warm embrace. Daniel understood in that instant. Life wasn't about fitting into a mold, but rather celebrating who you truly are, imperfections included. And for the first time, that realization sparkled with possibilities in the AIR.as. The party continued around him. He was no longer held captive by self-doubt. There was freedom ringing in laughter, the promise of a brighter tomorrow waiting just beyond the music, the light, the possibilities infinite. And just then, his phone buzzed again. It was a message from Sara. "How's it going? I believe in you. Remember, take it one moment at a time. I love you." Grinning from ear to ear, Daniel felt more than ready to embrace whatever came next. Change was here, and with it a newfound sense of hope, a beautiful beginning unfolding right before his eyes. In that crowded room, among old friends and new, he stepped forward into the future, fueled by trust in himself and the connections that made him whole. Tonight was only the start. Now, just as the story unfolded, it was time for you, dear reader, to join the journey. You need to subscribe now to ensure you're part of the continuing adventure, to witness the transformations that life brings. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is invaluable. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this message of hope and resilience. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Together, let's spread the energy of possibility.